Okay, now we're going to continue our explorations of filleting as a technique in product modeling. And this model is a little bit more complex than the block that we started working with, but we're going to apply some of the same techniques that we learned to our earlier model. This block's approximately 17 inches in length, okay? And one of the first things that you want to do when you have a complex model is to find out what fillet value you could pass every edge in the model and have it fillet properly. Okay, what fillet value you could pass to every edge in the model and have it fillet properly. And the way that you go about doing that is that you go up and you get the command fillet edge, and you select all of your edges like so, and right now it's set to 0.2, and you want to right click, and that looks pretty good, right? All my edges look like they're filleting, and everything's trimmed properly, and that's hold together. Now the nice thing about having preview turned on is that now I can go to set all. I'm going to go to 0.4. That still looks pretty good. Looks like my edges are blending together nicely. Okay, everything looks nice and milky smooth. Let's set all to 0.5. Still holding together. No bad malignant edges. That looks pretty good, right? Let's go now to 0.6. And we know that at 0.6, now we start to run into problems. Do you see that? So the sweet spot is somewhere between 0.5 and 0.6. And we could go in, do some more experimentation where we change this to 0.55. That's still problematic. Set all 0.525. Ooh, that looks like it's holding together, right? So now we can do a set all 0.53, and it's at about 0.53. Set all 0.54. Okay, so at about 0.53 is about where it all holds together, and all the edges can be properly filleted together in the model. Okay, and you have a nice filleted model. Okay, but here all the edges are pretty much filleted the same. Both the exterior and interior edges are filleted almost in the same manner. Okay, now what we would like to do, ideally, if you wanted to vary the edges, once again, let's go back to one of our first laws of filleting. And when you're going to have a variety of edges within a work, what's one of the first things that you want to do? What's the first thing you want to do? You want to fillet the vertical edges first, okay? Always fillet the vertical edges first, okay? So if I were to come in here and look at this model, I have basically four sets of vertical edges. I have these right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. These are my vertical edges in the model, okay? And I could trace all of these, okay? All of these would be my vertical edges. So I'm going to do the ones down here first, okay? I'm going to go get my fillet edge command, and I'm going to select those. I'm going to turn those off, turn those off, turn those off, so I just have those vertical edges right there. Now, the maximum value that I can pass these edges are what it is nice about your surfaces, because they give you this hash mark, so you know that at about 0.32 is about the halfway point. Look at how cool that is. So I'm going to change this value to 0.3. Oh, I'm sorry, to 3. Okay, I can click this one, change that value to 3. Click this one, change that value to 3. Click this one, change that value to 3. And you notice that that still holds together kind of nicely. Now, this one I wouldn't be able to push out that far because I'm going to run into problems with this edge. Oops. That's bad right there, right? So you notice that you can only take this one to about 0.1. And it lets you see how far. Now, see, there we go. See, because I'm passing that edge right there. That's why that's losing its continuity. So about 0.24 is about as far as I can take that one. So I can click that and change it to 2. Click that, change it to 2. Click this one, change it to 2. Click that and change it to 2. Okay. And then I could hit enter, and I could have that block shape like that, right? And that sort of transformed my edge, right? Now I can go and start working with some of my, let's work with these. Let's execute the command again. We've got to get this one. This one. This one. This one, that one. That one. That one, and that one. Okay. And I don't think I want to, I think if I do these, what I'd want to do is that I'd want to go all the way around like this. You follow? I'd want to trace that all the way around. Because that we may as well carry the whole edge. Don't you think that makes sense? And realize that probably the largest that we're going to be able to do it is like this distance right in here is going to govern, because that's the shortest edge right there. That's going to govern how wide we're going to be able to take this. Okay, so I'm going to move this out. And see, that's at 0.114. That's a little bit too far. And I never like to pinch it all the way to the edge. I like to give myself a little play there. So it's looking like 1, right? So I could click here and say set all and pass it a value of 1. And that looks like it's holding together. I'm getting some pinch here, right, which isn't good. We don't want that. Okay. So let's do a set all and change that value to 0.8. And so we don't have surface, we got surface crash here. We don't ever want to have two surfaces crashing into each other, okay? So I want to do a set all, I'm going to change it to 0.5. That's better. Do you see why we backed off? And I could probably go to 0.6. But we don't want our surfaces crashing into each other, because that will cause you heartache down the line. I guarantee it. As Justin Roebuck would say, I guarantee it. Okay? Now, what you might be able to do is to do like a copy handle and move a handle in through here, and then perhaps set its value down a little bit like that to 0.4. Like that, right? So you get some variety in that edge. You see that? How we're able to create variety in that edge? And I'm going to copy that handle, and I'm going to move it around to this side. Like that. And so I've got a little, you see how it thins in to that portion right there. And I'm going to do the same thing on the top. So we're going to get a little thinner up here on the top. And a little thicker as we move outside like that. So we can add variety in that way. Okay? And so there I've done all my vertical edges, and it's still a nice inherent solid. Okay? Okay, now I can start working on the horizontal edges. Now I can start working on the horizontal edges. Once again, a nice exercise to do, right, would be to come along and select all my edges that are filletable, right, and see what value I could pass all of them and still have the model maintain its integrity, okay? So we're going to work with 0.6. I know that's going to be not good, right? So I'm going to set all to 0.3. And that holds together. So we know that that value to fillet all of these members together is between 0.6 and 0.3. Right? So we can do a set all to 0.4. So 0.4 is still good. We can do a set all to 0.5. And we know that so it's between 0.4 and 0.5, so we can set all 0.45. And so that's about it. Like 0.45 would be a good value. But let's say we wanted those edges to be sharp, because right now they're very soft, right? Let's say we wanted those edges to be sharp. We could set all those to 0.1. And we got nice sharp edges. And this is really where filleting begins to pay off. And I'm going to change it to 0.2. I'm going to set all to 0.2. Okay. And this is where filleting really pays off, right? Because now I can hit enter to bring that in. And it's nice and clean. Now let's look at this in rendered mode. Look at those edges. Those beautiful edges and transitions. That's where filleting really pays off. It's in your rendering. Okay? And what I'd like for you to do is to go back to your original block shape and make a copy. And I want you to play around with the values that you ascribe to your fillets so that you can use the same block model, but I want you to create two different and sort of like distinct interpretations of it just based upon manipulating your fillet values. And I'd like for you to do that for about 10 to 15 minutes, okay? And so that's how you can apply a strategy of applying multiple fillets to your object. Always start, find out what the fillet value is that you're going to apply to all the fillets in your model. Then what you do is you go to your vertical edges, do your vertical edges first. Then you can fillet into those vertical edges and then use your add handles to add variations within a single edge line along your fillets. It's a very powerful technique that you can use to transform your model.